In this episode of Budget Racer Resto, we continue on where we left off in episode 2 with replacing the damaged windows and doing what I can to repair the door cards. And finally, I can get all the interior back together, which is exciting. Let's get into it.
So, an update on what's happened and what the plan is for now. Now, these door trims are pretty dud. They've gotten moisture in them or something and have rather deteriorated. But I've done what I can to hold them together and clean them up, because for the moment I just want to get them back on the car and functioning. Speaking of the car, and I've still got another window to address. The passenger side was swapped out last time, so I'll need to get this driver's side window installed. And you can actually see the remnants of the old smashed window still in the door. It's the next day, and while I've got that window now swapped out, today I need to continue the interior assembly, starting with these rear quarter seatbelt tower plastics and all the little trim pieces that hold it all together. I've got the driver's side already buttoned up. It's nothing too difficult to do, so I can get onto the passenger side next. And then of course it's time to refit those old door trims. That'll be easy enough, provided they hold themselves together. Anyway, enough talking, let's get to work. The interior is making good progress, but while I was poking around in here, I noticed the horn doesn't work. But this button on the dash works just fine. And so, to try trace this issue, I've gone ahead and pulled the dash cover under the steering column out, and well, there's a few dodgy soldered wires under here that go off to that button, but they don't seem to explain why the horn button on the wheel doesn't work. So I think that means the wheel is going to have to come off so I can have a look underneath at what's going on. Well, I've got the steering wheel off, and while the horn wire wasn't even connected to the horn button on the wheel, the wire wasn't actually working anyway when I grounded it. So pulling this hub off, I noticed the spring contact here was looking pretty sad. I think this may be the cause of the issue. Jumping it to ground, the horn works now. So I think that whole contact setup needs some TLC to get it working again. While I'm at it, this indicator and wiper arm setup is a bit ragged too. It would appear as though the mounts are broken, so I'll try and sort those out while I'm here, before I put it all back together. I assume the arseholes who broke into the car damaged this trying to get into the ignition barrel. Back outside, and I wanted to mention something that some people may neglect: the wiper arms. I pulled these arms off the car, cleaned them up a bit, hit them with some new gloss paint. Nothing hard, but it's the little details that really make a car just feel nice. It's just a shame the rest of the car's exterior still looks so trash in comparison, but we're getting there. News time. And if you look past that ugly exterior, this inside is starting to look presentable. On face value, it's really looking smart for what was a ragged little thing when I first saw it. The cluster and ignition barrel is all back together and the dash hood is back on. It took quite a while to vacuum all the broken glass out of the windscreen vents. I actually had to swap in a new ignition barrel that I had spare from my NB track car. It wasn't a perfect bolt-on, but thankfully it was close enough to make it work. The shifter boot's a bit dodged, so I'll swap one of those out someday, and everything else is looking pretty well back together and cleaned up in here. We are still missing one important thing, however. Seats. The old seats are pretty well spent. Torn, worn out, covered in broken glass, and junk. It's a real shame, but please don't shed any tears for my seats, for we have some replacements. These nice, neat leather items from an NB will really set off the finished interior nicely. Let's get these fellas installed. Look at that poor car just chilling out back, unloved. Poor fella. And damn those noisy birds. Anywho, so things are pretty well finished interior wise now, and boy am I impressed with where it's ended up, given how trash it was when we started. I'm very happy with the end result. Sure, it's mostly original and still a little tatty, but that's cool. At least it works.
So at this point the interior is looking much more presentable and I'm really satisfied with where it's come, considering how sad it looked when we first got the car. It really feels transformed, which unfortunately isn't something that can be said for the outside. But that's okay because in the next episode we get to work on fixing up the outside. Nothing special, but enough to initially get it back on the street. Anyway, I'd really love for you to come along for that next episode, so please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and of course give the video a thumbs up because that helps me out with some sort of weird YouTube magic. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.